Welcome, dear reader. Imagine waking up one quiet morning and feeling that something inside you has slowly, silently changed. Not in a loud or dramatic way, but gently, like the soft light of sunrise spreading across the sky. There's no big event, no sudden success, no visible reason. Yet something feels different. What if real change does not come from big decisions or sudden motivation, but from small actions repeated every single day? What if one simple month could quietly reshape your life in ways you never expected? Have you ever felt like your life is moving but not really changing? The days pass, one after another, filled with the same routine, the same habits, the same thoughts. You tell yourself that one day things will be different, but that day never seems to come. You wait for motivation, for the right moment, for a big opportunity. But what if the truth is much simpler? What if change does not begin with something big, but with something so small that it almost feels unimportant? This story is not about a person. It is about a journey, a quiet, steady journey that moves through time, habits, thoughts, and small decisions. It is about a single month, 30 simple days, each carrying a hidden power. Nothing dramatic happens in these days. There are no big surprises, no sudden transformations. And yet, by the end, everything feels different. Are you ready to discover how something so small can create something so powerful? The month began like any other, calm and ordinary, with no sign that anything important was about to happen. The mornings felt the same, the days followed the usual pattern, and the nights ended without any special meaning. There was no excitement, no strong motivation, no feeling of change. Everything seemed normal on the surface. But deep inside this normal routine, something quiet had already begun. Something that did not need attention, only consistency. On the first day, the idea was simple. Start small. There was no need to change everything, no need to create a perfect plan, no need to take big risks. Just one small action, chosen carefully and done with intention. It could be anything simple. Waking up 10 minutes earlier, drinking water first thing in the morning, reading one page, or writing a single thought. The action felt almost too easy, almost meaningless. But the truth was hidden. It was not about the action itself, but about beginning. The second day arrived without excitement. The same action had to be repeated. This time it felt slightly different. The freshness of the first day was gone, and now it required a decision. It was no longer about starting, but about continuing. The mind began to question quietly, asking whether such a small step could really matter. But instead of searching for answers, the action was repeated again. And that simple repetition became more important than any thought. By the third day, resistance appeared more clearly. The mind became louder, more doubtful, more critical. It said things like, "This is too small," or "This will not change anything." It suggested stopping, delaying, or ignoring the action completely. These thoughts felt convincing, almost logical. But something deeper chose to continue anyway. The action was repeated again, not because it felt exciting, but because it was part of the process. And in that moment, discipline quietly began to grow. The fourth and fifth days passed slowly, without any visible progress. Nothing seemed to change. There were no results, no rewards, no clear signs of improvement. It would have been easy to stop, to believe that nothing was happening. But beneath the surface, something important was forming. The repeated action was building a foundation, layer by layer, even though it could not yet be seen. By the end of the first week, a small but noticeable shift had taken place. The action no longer felt completely new. It had started to become part of the daily routine. It still required effort, but less than before. The mind resisted less, and the process felt slightly easier. There was no big success, no dramatic change, but there was a quiet sense of progress. The second week introduced something deeper: awareness. It was no longer just about doing the action, but about noticing everything around it. Thoughts, feelings, distractions, and patterns became clearer. Some days felt easy and smooth, while others felt heavy and slow. Doubt returned again, sometimes stronger than before. But instead of stopping, the action continued, calmly and consistently. During these days, something interesting began to happen. Time felt different. Days no longer felt empty or repetitive. Each day carried a small purpose, even if it was simple. The repetition of one small action created a rhythm, and that rhythm brought stability. Life started to feel more organized, more controlled, even without big changes. As the middle of the month arrived, the change became easier to feel. Energy improved slightly. Focus became clearer. The action that once felt small now felt meaningful. It had become a habit, something natural, something expected. It no longer needed strong effort. It simply happened as part of the day. But the third week brought new challenges. Distractions increased. Some days felt busy, some felt tiring, and some felt completely unmotivated. Skipping the action seemed easy, even reasonable. The mind offered excuses. Just today. You can do it later. It doesn't matter. These moments were difficult, not because of the action, but because of the decision. Each time the action was repeated during these difficult moments, something powerful was built. Not just the habit, but belief. A new belief began to form. The belief that consistency is stronger than motivation. The belief that small actions repeated daily can create real change. By the 25th day, the transformation was clear, even if it was quiet. The day felt more structured. The mind felt calmer. There was a sense of direction, a feeling that life was slowly improving. Nothing had changed suddenly, but everything had changed gradually. The final days of the month arrived without any excitement. There was no big moment, no sudden success, no dramatic ending. Instead, there was a quiet understanding. The change had already happened, step by step, day by day. On the 30th day, everything looked the same on the outside. The same surroundings, the same routine, the same life. But inside, everything felt different. The small action, repeated daily, had created a new mindset, a new habit, and a new direction. The most important lesson became clear. Change does not happen in one moment. It happens in many small moments, repeated again and again. It happens when you continue, even when it feels boring, even when it feels slow, even when it feels unnecessary. And so, the month ended, but the journey did not stop. Because once one habit is built, another can follow. Once one change is made, more changes become possible. What started as something small had become something powerful. This is the true secret of changing your life in 1 month. Not big goals, not perfect plans, just one small action, repeated every day without stopping. So, as you finish this story, remember this simple truth. Your life changes quietly. It changes in small steps, daily actions, and consistent effort. And if you begin today, Even with the smallest step, your transformation has already started.